Hi everyone, it's Tara O'Connell back with you this week. This week, we're doing things a little bit differently. This week, I'm really excited to be interviewing one of my favourite people, Naomi Findlay. Welcome, Naomi.
Hi, Tara. Thank you so much for having me today. I'm really excited to be here.
Absolutely loving having you here. Now, everyone, Naomi Findlay is the CEO of Silk Homes. She's one of the top 5 home stagers in the world. She also is the founder and director of the International Institute of Home Staging. And in that business, she's been mentor to some of Australia's very successful people, such as the twins from the Block series. And she also has naomifindlay.com, which is what we're going to talk about today, which is her brand new initiative. And today in particular, we're going to talk about space medicine. So, Naomi, would you like to give us a little bit of an introduction on exactly what is space medicine?
I'd love to, Tara. You know, it's something that I am so passionate about. It's crazy. You know, I've worked in medicine and oncology for 18 years, and I'm in my 8th year of business, and I noticed such a massive overlap between so much of the health world and the business world, which is how I ended up in the world of space medicine. So I noticed with so many of my clients and so many of the properties I worked on that there was such a vast difference between how people connected in one space to another, or how they responded in one space to another, or how they thrived in one space to another. And funnily enough, there's thousands of years of research to support how much our environment impacts on us. It goes all the way back, really intriguing. It goes all the way down to a cellular level, to the point that as our cells in our body, the hundreds of thousands of cells that we have, it's probably many more than that as a cell is developing in its early stages, it decides what type of cell it wants to be based on the cells that are around it. So based on its environment. So it's no wonder that if at a cellular level we are greatly affected by our environment, no wonder as beings we are greatly affected by our environment. So this was an anecdotal thing that I was noticing everywhere in my work. When I was working with people who were selling property, when I was working with people who were living in the property, and when I was working with people to create better spaces for themselves, to run their companies, to grow their businesses, or to thrive and live just a deluxe life in. And it's something that has captivated me, and the research is just outstanding around it, that by incorporating some of the key principles of space medicine into our everyday environments, we can actually do crazy things like increase our productivity by over 7%, increase our well-being by over 15%. You know, like the stats are just, they're really epic. You can tell I get quite excited about this. And I think that now that I live and breathe that, I notice an amazing difference in my vitality and in my work.
So on a practical level, I know that a lot of the people listening today either have a small business that they're running from a home office or a small office, or perhaps they're thinking about starting a small business from home. So on a practical level, what types of things can we do to increase productivity, increase our well-being, and overall the enjoyment that we have from our businesses when we have a small office or a home office?
Absolutely. The key things, I'll give you my top 3 tips that I want you to think about. So the first one is light. It is well known, but I don't think enough weight is given to it about the importance of natural light in our environment. So having a space that has maximum natural light is a really great tip. And you know what? This isn't always achievable for everyone. Not everyone can live in an amazing or work in an amazing studio with epic, glass studio doors. But I want you to break it down to what you could do at home. So for example, if you have a choice of a room or a location, choose somewhere that does have natural light. If your only option is, the 4th bedroom or a smaller study, look at how you can maximize that light in there. It might be taking down heavy drapery, it might be removing security screens from outdoor or trimming the shrubs outside the window, or it might be installing a cool little skylight. So light is essential. And if natural light is truly not an option, because let's face it, so many office spaces nowadays don't have natural light, look for light bulbs that are a full spectrum light, which is the best representation really of natural light that we can artificially produce.
Excellent. Okay, that's called full spectrum light.
Correct. So that's my first big tip. My second big tip is a view. I might need to explain that one a little, I think. Without getting too medical on you, there is some amazing evidence around what having a vista of an outdoor space. So it doesn't need to be, a rolling mountain or a beautiful lake. It's about connection with nature. So increasing our connection with nature in our working spaces or in the spaces in which we are going to be working, because let's face it, most small businesses start on the kitchen bench or on the dining table or on the outdoor table. So about increasing that connection with nature is really, really important. If you don't have the opportunity to have a window with a view, so you sort of tick off your natural light and your nature all in one, consider incorporating living plants into your space. That's one way, and also adding some texture into your space. That's one way that you can still get that connection with nature that maybe not on a conscious level you're craving, but on a subconscious level, you are craving it.
Fantastic. And indoor plants just add so much character to a room, and there's also that whole oxygen component of having living plants in and around you. So that sounds fantastic. And what was your third tip?
My third tip was, this is really about focus. So I know there is so much in the media about clutter, and we all know that we need to declutter. But my top tip really, and most of us can get there, most of us can do like a massive spring clean and have like a massive declutter, which is wonderful. But where we often stress that clutter is part of everyday life. It is just the way it is. And, just because something is seen as visual clutter, it doesn't mean it's not important. So it's not like we can completely rid clutter of our everyday life. But what we need is to have had some forethought and put some systems and process in place to manage your clutter on a day-to-day basis. Because I could recite reams of evidence around the decrease in productivity, the decrease in focus, the decrease in ability to be creative when we are visually disturbed and distracted constantly by our clutter. So that doesn't mean you need a type A super, super neat house. It just means everyone has different levels of clutter tolerance, and it needs that you need to get some systems and processes in place. So after that beautiful big spring clean that you've been inspired to do, that you have a way to manage it on a day-to-day basis.
I was reading somewhere recently about decluttering and also about the importance of surrounding yourself with things that make you feel good.
Yes.
So having beautiful objects around you, one of the things I was reading was about going through your wardrobe as an example, which is no business. But
well, it kind of is.
Holding each piece. Well, it kind of is. And holding each piece and going, how does this make me feel? And unless it makes me feel really good, I should get rid of it. I should either monetize it, or I should give it to charity, or it's well and truly past its use by date, actually rid of it and turn it into rags. But having your environment full of things that you love rather than just things that are practical. And how do you feel about that?
Oh, look, I think it's essential. It's something that's a core part of us in every aspect of our businesses. And to me, it's essential in our workspaces as well. So if we're not connected with our space, or we don't feel comfortable, we don't feel stable, we don't feel nurtured in our spaces, then again, we're not going to be at the top of our game. And our game comes in ebbs and flows. We all know that some days we're in complete and other days we're not, and they're often for reasons that might be outside of our space. But if we have a space that can support our level of flow in the best possible way. I think that's great. And I think having so important that you identify, as well as all these scientific things, it's also in a workspace that you identify your style, not as in give it a label, as in uncover your true style, and identify the things that are your muse. So for some people, it might be inspiration of their family. For other people, it might be amazing art. I'm dead set honest, and I'm not particularly embarrassed to say it, that one of the things that is really important to me in my workspace is stationery I love. And so it's about identifying your style, your true inner style, what fulfills you, and also what those key things are that are your muse. That, you know, and it's different. It's absolutely different for everybody. And that's a really essential part of creating a space that's going to help your business rocket.
Absolutely. And you've completely justified my addiction to Kiki K. So thank you so much for that.
You're welcome.
There's someone down there spending a fortune on stationery.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Tick.
And so I know a lot of the people listening will be in that situation. They're still working from the kitchen table, or they're still sharing a space. A lot of us have children. I know you have 4 beautiful children, and I have 2.
Yes.
And a lot of us are still sharing, particularly the home office space, with either our partner and or our children. And one of the things we caught up recently for a walk, the thing you mentioned to me was the concept of having an office in a box. Can you just tell us a little more about that for the people who are in the really early days of startup phase?
Absolutely. You know, just because you mightn't have a dedicated space, that doesn't mean that you can't run a business. You know, I know people, there are international, global companies that their entire office space has a backpack each. So they have an office in a backpack, and every day they visit a different space in their building to find a space that's in accordance with their flow, with what they need to do that day, whether it be a rudimentary task or whether it be a creative task or whether it be a customer service task. They find a space that fits and strikes a chord and delivers the space medicine they need for that day to complete those tasks. So I guess the office in a box comes from, the office in a box comes from from the concept. I know someone called Tara O'Connor who can help me with that. From the concept that we don't always have the luxury of having a space. But it doesn't mean that when you set yourself up to do work, you can't feel grounded, supported, and thriving. And so I know I've helped lots of people say, cool, so you don't have a space to work, but let's find a space in the home. Let's find a couple of spaces in your home that, one, the dishes don't have to be done for you to feel good working there, and the beds don't need to feel good working there. So looking at the way the furniture is positioned in the home to try and get the natural light and try and get the connection with nature and try and minimize the visual distractions of day-to-day life. And then we literally have a box that has all the things, not a big box, just FYI, a little box that has all the things that you need to complete the work you're doing at that stage of your business. So I absolutely know for me right now, it'd be computer, my gorgeous stationery, notebook, phone, hand cream, candle, and my planner, to be honest with you. I could, totally a photo of Tara and I together. No, so I know that from where I am right now in business, that could totally do it. For someone who's in a different type of business, someone who's maybe designing textiles, theirs might be, you know, an A1 art book and all. They might need the computer and the Wi-Fi. And so it's about identifying, I always talk to people about when you're setting up your space, you need to ask yourself some pretty rudimentary questions like, one, what do I need to do in this space? So what am I going to be doing that I need to have equipment for in my box? And two, what do I complete those tasks? So what is the equipment? What is the resources that I need to complete that? Because let's face it, design, styling, space medicine, all of it is useless if it doesn't actually work. None of it is useful if you can't actually complete the function that we set out to complete. So I guess what I like to do, and I guess as well, so you mentioned, Tara, about sharing home offices. And it's certainly true, especially as kids get older. You're always getting nudged to the side so they can put their laptop on the home office table. And so you could also flip that. If you had a home office that you sometimes had to share, give them books. And so you don't have to constantly look at that. So when my 3 and my 5-year-old come in and want to share my office, obviously I'm not doing a podcast at that point in time because it'd be quite noisy, but have a box that is theirs and has the things that they like to work on with mum on the other side of the table.
I love that. That is such a great idea. And you also touched on the idea of flow. And I think that the whole concept that you're developing around space medicine fits beautifully with the concept of being in flow. Because if we're not in flow, I have quite a hyperactive brain. And so if I'm not in flow, I find it really difficult to focus.
Yes.
And so actually having an environment that we've created that then creates the flow that we need. So it's quite a circular thing from what you're saying. We create the environment that then impacts on us.
Absolutely.
That ability to be in flow then goes on to all of those other really important factors about our own personal health. And our mutual, beautiful friend, Tammy Guest,
absolutely,
who is an expert in this field, is always talking about how important it is for our physical well-being flow. And so what you're doing is not only important to our business well-being, but also to our physical well-being. And that's why I just absolutely love what you're doing.
Thank you.
Absolutely love all the people listening to go over, because I know you're about to launch an online program that will step people through some of these concepts. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, we're just about to launch a free video series. So it's pretty much me talking to you guys. It's a 4-part series where I talk to you about the different concepts and a bit more in-depth background about space medicine and about how it's a really intriguing blend of style, design, ontological design, biology and environmental psychology. And when we package that up and we harness the power of that, it can amplify our flow, our well-being and our productivity exponentially. And so part of that is just is about raising the awareness that you actually have, and it's really cool that you brought it up, Tara. You're very insightful. It is literally, you remember the picture where the hand is drawing the hand? That is exactly what we're doing in our environments. We're drawing our environments that in turn are changing and molding behavior. And so the video series, you can find it if you'd like to. It's all free. It's at naomifindlay.com/space medicine series. And if you want to check out more about what we do with space medicine, you can head over to naomifindlay.com/space medicine and just have a read, because we all have the ability to do with simple steps to improve our environment that helps draw that space that then shapes, nurtures and helps us thrive.
Fantastic. And I'll share those links in the content below. But you're certainly doing exactly what your website says, and that is to create beautiful, healthy and wealthy spaces. So from all of us, thank you so much, because I know the work you're doing is going to have an impact on every aspect of our business and personal life. So thank you so much, and thank you for your time today. It's been an absolute pleasure as always.
Thank you so much, Tara. Thank you for having me.